Antarctica. On any map of the world, it is the planet's final blank space, a continent of serene white emptiness, a promise of pristine, untouched nature. But this promise is a carefully constructed lie, because beneath 4 kilometers of solid ice, there is a world we are not allowed to see. For the last 70 years, while humanity has reached for the stars, this continent has become the most restricted, most militarized, and most mysterious place on Earth. The real question is not what is there, but what are they hiding? The story begins not with a satellite, but with a piece of parchment from 1513, the map of the Turkish admiral Piri Reis. It is a cartographical masterpiece, but it shows something impossible: the northern coastline of Antarctica, completely free of ice. It details rivers, mountain ranges, and a shoreline so accurate that we could only verify its existence in the 20th century using modern seismic sounding technology. Official science is quick to dismiss it as a fantastic coincidence, a lucky guess. But this begs a terrifying question. How did a 16th century admiral possess a source map that accurately depicted a landscape that hasn't been visible for at least 12,000 years, and perhaps much longer? It's the first clue that our history is wrong. But the anomalies don't stop with ancient maps. In 2006, a joint European and American research team was conducting deep ice seismic studies when their instruments picked up something that shouldn't exist: narrow-band radio signals emanating from a fixed point deep within the ice sheet. This was not natural geophysical noise or a simple echo. The signals had a clear, artificial structure. They were modulated, repeated at precise intervals, and contained what appeared to be mathematical pauses. The recordings were immediately classified under national security protocols. But whispers and fragments of the data leaked out. Scientists scrambled for a natural explanation: internal ice fractures, electromagnetic resonances, trapped geothermal energy. None of these theories could explain the sheer mathematical regularity and complex structure of the signal. It was not the sound of a planet. It was the sound of a machine, or a message. This brings us to the very heart of the continent, Lake Vostok, a body of liquid water the size of Lake Ontario, buried under 4 kilometers of ice and completely sealed off from the outside world for at least 15 million years. When Russian scientists finally drilled into its pristine waters, the samples they retrieved contained a biological shock wave. They found bacteria whose DNA belongs to no known branch on the terrestrial tree of life. It was not a new species, it was a completely separate biology, a biological echo from another world, one that existed before or perhaps alongside our own. Some independent researchers now propose a stunning theory. Lake Vostok was not a prison, but a power source, a geothermal heart for a vast subglacial complex inhabited by a civilization that thrived in the continent's once temperate climate. When the ice came, they didn't flee, they retreated, deep underground into a perfectly shielded environment sustained by the warmth of the Earth itself. Suddenly, the intense military interest in a frozen wasteland makes perfect, chilling sense. In the early 2000s, a silent military occupation of Antarctica began. Highly classified expeditions from multiple nations established permanent bases. No-fly zones were declared over vast areas, zones forbidden even to civilian scientists. We hear sanitized reports of strange scientific equipment malfunctions, research teams suffering from bizarre psychological breakdowns, and supply planes being forced to turn back due to unprecedented magnetic anomalies that render all navigation useless. The truth is far simpler. They found something. Satellite images, scrubbed from public servers but preserved by whistleblowers, show the faint shadows of perfect right angles and unnaturally straight lines beneath the ice. They show massive, dark shapes that suggest the roofs of enormous structures, revealed for a moment when the brutal winds scour the ice clean. The myths of indigenous peoples across the southern hemisphere, from the Maori to the Patagonians, all speak of the same primordial memory. They tell of a race of tall, wise teachers who came from the land of the sleeping sun. They brought knowledge of astronomy, architecture, and healing, and when their work was done, they vanished into the great cold. These were not gods. These were the keepers of Antarctica, the survivors of a planetary reset that transformed their green continent into a frozen hell. They retreated into their subglacial world to wait, to preserve the knowledge of the old world, and the myths are very clear on one point: they are still there. Not as flesh and blood, perhaps, but as guardians of a technology that could shatter our reality. An unofficial consensus is forming among those who have seen the classified data. The world's superpowers have not found ruins, they have found a functioning, impossibly ancient technological installation. They have found tunnels, bored with perfect precision, that lead from the coast deep into the continent's interior. They have found sources of energy that defy the laws of thermodynamics. And near Lake Vostok, they have found a structure of unknown purpose, which is the source of both the magnetic anomalies and the intelligent radio signals. Every major expedition to the continent is a carefully managed military operation. Every scientific discovery is filtered through the lens of national security. They are not protecting the ice, they are protecting a secret. So when we look at Antarctica, we should not see a frozen continent. We should see a time capsule. It is not a tomb for a dead civilization. It is a vault. And inside that vault are the technologies, the history, and perhaps even the living descendants of Earth's true firstborn race. The question is no longer whether we will find evidence of their existence. The question is, when will the governments of the world finally be forced to admit what they have known for decades?